On today's episode, I almost had an epic failure. Why? Because I didn't pay attention to wood movement. Hello folks, well this is actually part 6 of the video series, The Asian-Inspired Nightstand, that I'm doing with my friend Mitch Peacock over there in the UK. Now if you're interested in seeing the previous episodes leading up to this, I'll have all those video links in the description below. But this episode has to deal with making the tabletop, and in particular, the breadboard ends that are also these wings. Now, working from the plans, I realized I overlooked a major design flaw, and that's regarding wood movement. So I'm going to show you the mistake and then the solution for fixing it. But first, I have to prepare the material for this top. So, cue that dance music. So you can see on this, I've drawn the profiles. I have the overall measurement lines, and I've transferred them on the top as well as the bottom. I have a 1/4 inch router bit in here. I have the bit raised up a 1/4 inch. I have the bit 3/8 away from the fence. This tape here, I've indicated where my start and stop lines will be. I will simply line up my pencil mark with the tape mark, drop it down on the bit, push it through until the other mark comes to the back, and then lift it up and out. So I have the mortising done, and you can see the profile here of the breadboard. Now I have to do this in a strategic order. The first part that I'm going to remove is going to be the top here. And I'm going to do this with the table saw. So I'm going to turn this upside down. I've raised the table saw blade to the height right there of the profile on this. And I'm going to make a pass. So now I just keep repeating the process. I'm going to lower the blade to where my pencil line is and keep doing that over and over to remove the bulk of this waste. So there you go, you can see the table saw. It took a while, but it removed most of that waste, and having that nice wide piece of board, you can see it gave me a lot of stability pushing it through the blade. To smooth all these ridges off, I've got one of my planes of my hollows and rounds, and you can see the profile on this. And so I'm going to use it to try and smooth this out. Okay, I switched to a smaller one of these hollows and rounds, and it's pretty good. At this point, I'm just going to use some sandpaper on it, and then I will cut out the other portion of this back on the table saw. So now the rest of this, I'm going to clean up with a hand plane. right, it's now time for me to make these long tenons shorter to fit the individual mortises. So I'm just going to line these guys up. And with my pencil, I'm going to mark where these tenons need to be cut down. So I did a dry fit of the breadboards here on the end, and I'm actually going to use the breadboards to aid me in gluing these pieces together. Okay, and I'm hoping, I'm not going to glue the breadboards yet, I'm just going to use it to help keep these three boards aligned while it dries. So I'm just about there with this. I'm really liking the look of it. I love the wings coming up on the batten boards. Got to trim them to length a little bit. And according to the plans, I've got my mortise and tenons, and it's a good fit. You know, I like how precise and snug this is of a fit. But I have one concern. Because this fits so tight, I realized that this wood can't expand and contract. And these tenons fit precisely into the mortise, so that's going to restrict it from being able to move. I'm worried about this cupping, bowing, or even splitting in some areas. I feel this needs to move. Now, I thought about cutting the tenon a little shorter. That way it had room here in the mortise to expand and contract. But then I can't really keep this batten on, or I can't keep this breadboard on, because I'd have to use glue. These are so small, and if I put glue on it, well, then I'm restricting, again, the ability for this to expand and contract and move. So after some thought, I'm going to re-engineer this portion of it, and I'll show you what I'm coming up with. All right, as I mentioned, I was working off of these plans, and sometimes when you do a design, it looks good on paper, but then when you're actually working on it, the real-life applications can come into play. And I was really concerned about wood movement on here. So let me show you a couple of things that I did. So you can see I have the breadboard back on, and I have the wing. But here's what I'm doing. So first off, I added this additional piece of wood on here. And it would have been nice if I thought of this earlier when I first was shaping this wing. I could have made the breadboard this whole solid piece, but that's okay. I feel pretty confident with today's glue because I got edge grain to edge grain on here, and I think that's not going to go anywhere. Also, too, you can see I drilled a series of holes in it. Now, let me turn the tabletop over. And you'll notice that I rabbited out here on the tabletop, so it will accept the larger breadboard piece. Also, what I did was I made the tenons a little smaller, so I've got plenty of room inside that mortise for it to expand and contract, so I don't need the glue. And here's how it's going to actually stay on. So you notice I drilled those holes, and I have some dowel pins in here. I didn't cut them off flush yet because I wanted to show this to you. It's out. That's tight. That's tight. That's a good thing. But don't break. Okay, that last one was in there pretty tight. I actually wound up putting pliers around it and this little pry bar underneath it to lift it straight up because it was wanting to break. Here's why. This isn't just drilled into it. No, what I did was, so you can see I have the one hole here in the center, the two holes here on the end, they're elongated. So what this is doing for me is the wood can expand from the middle out to the ends. That's why this one doesn't need to be elongated. But these guys have to allow that pin to float in it. So the pin being straight in, the pin's going to prevent this whole breadboard from coming off. The elongated hole is going to allow it to expand and contract so that the wood can move, and I can put this together without needing any glue. Now, I don't even have to put glue around here for the dowel pin because I'm doing what they call draw boring. And let me zoom in and give you a closer shot of what that is. So this is the opposite side of what I've already done. And as noted before, I have the holes already drilled all the way through the breadboard. And put that back on. And then since it's a 1/4 inch hole, I have my quarter inch Forstner bit. And what I'm doing right now is I'm putting it in here, and I'm just pushing down to make a small indentation on the actual tabletop. I don't know if you can see it. It's a real small pinhole right there. Now, to make this thing really draw in tight, I'm going to take my awl and going to the center, moving towards the center board. I don't want to go towards the edge of the board. I want to go more towards the center. I'm going to use my awl just on the other side of that hole. I mean, it's small, moving over, less than a 32nd. That is where I'm going to drill into the top. So now when I put the pin in, it's pulling the whole breadboard over. It's pulling the whole thing in closer as I drive the pin in, keeping that locked in and secure. And there you are. That was the problem that I had and the solution I came up with for dealing with wood movement. And at this point, I'm leaving the pegs long so I can take this apart and sand it before I'm done. Now, part 7, that is going to be over on Mitch's channel, so I encourage you to click on the link and subscribe to his show. If you have a question on a woodworking project you're doing, feel free to email me at woodshoppingtime@gmail.com. I will do my best to give you answers for your problems. And if you don't already know it, you can subscribe to a free woodworking newsletter, and the next one is coming out on April 2nd. So make sure you sign up for that today, because once it goes out, it's gone for good. As always, thank you so much for watching, and my whole purpose is to make you a better woodworker. Until next time, keep on dancing.